GhastlyGarlic Episode 16. The Haunting of São Miguel. Prologue. In the remote corners of Brazil, far from the bustling cities and modern life, there exists a haunting legend that has been passed down through generations. This is the legend of Pisadeira, the night hag, a malevolent spirit that preys on the unwary as they sleep. The tale is as old as the land itself, woven into the fabric of Brazilian folklore, and feared by all who hear it. The name Pisadeira comes from the Portuguese word pisar, meaning to step. According to legend, Pisadeira is an old woman with long, sharp nails, red eyes, and a malicious grin. She lurks on rooftops and in dark corners, waiting for her moment to strike. When night falls and her chosen victim falls asleep, she creeps into their room and sits on their chest, rendering them paralyzed and helpless. The victim is unable to move or cry out, trapped in a terrifying state of sleep paralysis, as Pisadeira's bony fingers press down on them. In São Miguel, a small village hidden deep within the Amazon rainforest, the legend of Pisadeira is particularly strong. The villagers speak of her in hushed tones, their eyes wide with fear. They believe that she comes for those who sleep on their backs, those who have committed sins, or those who have left food out overnight. Her presence is a reminder of the thin line between the world of the living and the realm of spirits. Historically, the legend of Pisadeira has been used to explain the phenomenon of sleep paralysis, a condition where a person is temporarily unable to move or speak while falling asleep, or upon waking. However, in São Miguel, the fear of Pisadeira goes beyond medical explanations. The villagers believe that she is a real, tangible entity, a force of malevolence that can be summoned and controlled by those who know the dark arts. The story of Pisadeira became even more sinister when, during the last village election, the hauntings intensified. Reports of Pisadeira's visits increased, and the once quiet village was plunged into a state of terror. People spoke of seeing her shadowy figure slipping through windows, hearing her eerie laughter in the dead of night, and feeling her oppressive weight on their chests. One of the most harrowing incidents involved Father Miguel, the village priest. A man of strong faith and unwavering dedication, Father Miguel was well respected and loved by the villagers. But even he was not immune to the terror of Pisadeira. One night, as he lay in his bed, he felt a sudden, crushing weight on his chest. He opened his eyes to see Pisadeira's grinning face inches from his own. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. He tried to move, but his body refused to obey. Father Miguel's encounter with Pisadeira broke him. He was found the next morning, his eyes wide with terror, his mind shattered. He was taken to a distant mental hospital, his once clear mind now filled with incoherent ramblings about the night hag. The villagers, already fearful, were thrown into a state of panic. If even their priest could be brought low by Pisadeira, what hope did they have? Desperate and afraid, the head of the village, João Silva, knew that something had to be done. He had heard of a group of adventurers and investigators who had once solved the mystery of the Última Horror, a legendary sea monster. He reached out to them, hoping they could bring their expertise and bravery to São Miguel. And so, our story begins with the arrival of this intrepid team in São Miguel, a village on the brink of despair, haunted by a legend as old as time. They are about to uncover the truth behind Pisadeira and the dark forces at play in this remote corner of Brazil. But the path ahead is fraught with danger, and the answers they seek may be more terrifying than they could ever have imagined. Chapter 1: Shadows in the Night. In the heart of Brazil, nestled deep within the dense Amazon rainforest, lies the remote village of São Miguel. Isolated from modern civilization, São Miguel is a place where ancient traditions and supernatural beliefs hold sway over the lives of its inhabitants. The village is known for its eerie tales and mysterious occurrences, but none as chilling as the legend of Pisadeira. Pisadeira, the night hag, is said to haunt the dreams of those who sleep on their backs, her bony fingers pressing down on their chests, leaving them paralyzed with fear. For generations, the villagers of São Miguel have lived in dread of her nocturnal visits, their nights filled with whispers and shadows. Recently, the hauntings have intensified, driving even the village priest, Father Miguel, to madness. His incoherent ramblings and terrified screams echo through the village, as he is carted off to a distant mental hospital. The villagers are gripped by fear, their faith in their leadership shaken. Desperate for answers, the village headman, João Silva, reaches out to the only people he believes can help, the intrepid team of adventurers and investigators who once uncovered the mystery of the Ultima Horror. Their journey into the unknown is about to begin once more, leading them into the heart of darkness and the terrifying legend of Pisadeira. Chapter 2: A Call to the Jungle. The dense canopy of the Amazon rainforest seemed to swallow the small, propeller-driven plane as it descended toward the tiny airstrip on the outskirts of São Miguel. Eve Morgan peered out of the window, her heart racing with anticipation and a hint of trepidation. She turned to her companions, Ava Thompson, Sam Carter, Izzy King, Logan Mitchell, and Mark Harris, each lost in their thoughts. "This place feels like it's straight out of a horror movie," Sam muttered, adjusting his hat and checking his gear. "It's more than just a movie, Sam," Ava replied, her fingers flying over her tablet as she reviewed the data they'd gathered. "The reports of Pisadeira are consistent with cases of sleep paralysis, but there's something more to it here." Logan, the ever-skeptical former skeptic, now fully on board with the team's mission after the Ultima Horror incident, nodded thoughtfully. "Folklore has a way of embedding itself in reality. We need to be prepared for anything." As the plane touched down and taxied to a stop, the team disembarked and was greeted by João Silva, the village headman. His weathered face bore the marks of sleepless nights and deep worry. "Thank you for coming," João said, his voice heavy with relief. "We are in desperate need of your help. The hauntings have driven our priest mad and our people to the brink of despair." "We are here to help," Eve assured him. "Tell us everything you know about the recent events." As they walked through the village, João recounted the eerie occurrences, villagers waking in the night, unable to move, feeling an oppressive weight on their chests, and seeing the ghastly visage of Pisadeira looming over them. The priest, Father Miguel, had been the latest victim, his mind shattered by the terror. "We need to find out what's causing this," Izzy said, her voice filled with determination. "Pisadeira may be a legend, but something real is happening here." Their investigation began with interviewing the villagers, collecting stories and examining the places where the hauntings had occurred. Each account added a new layer of mystery, and a pattern began to emerge. The hauntings seemed to focus around certain families, those with ties to the village's leadership. Chapter 3: The Priest's Madness. The team's next stop was the distant mental hospital where Father Miguel was being held. The journey through the jungle was arduous, but they finally arrived at the stark, imposing building. Inside, they were met by Dr. Ana Moreira, a compassionate and dedicated psychiatrist who had been trying to help Father Miguel. "Father Miguel's condition is severe," Dr. Moreira explained. "He speaks of Pisadeira constantly, and his fear is palpable. I've never seen anything like it." Even Ava took the lead, speaking gently with the priest. His eyes were wild, darting around the room, as if he could see the night hag lurking in the shadows. She comes in the night," he whispered, his voice trembling. "She sits on my chest, crushing me. I can't breathe, can't move. She's here. She's always here." "Father Miguel, can you tell us when this started?" Eve asked softly. "It began after the last election," he muttered. "The villagers were restless, divided. I prayed for guidance, but instead, she came." The team exchanged glances, sensing a connection between the hauntings and the village's political turmoil. As they delved deeper, they discovered that the hauntings had indeed intensified around the time of the last election for the headman. Chapter 4: Uncovering the Truth. Back in São Miguel, the team continued their investigation, focusing on the political aspect. They learned that João Silva's leadership had been challenged by a rival, Antonio Mendes, who had ambitions of becoming the next headman. Mendes was a charismatic figure, but there were whispers of his ruthless tactics. Ava hacked into the village's administrative records, uncovering documents that suggested Mendes had been involved in several underhanded schemes. Izzy and Sam conducted interviews with villagers who had supported Mendes, gathering more evidence of his manipulative strategies. The pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. Mendes had summoned Pisadeira to create chaos and undermine João Silva's leadership, hoping to seize power amidst the fear and confusion. The Night Hag was not just a figment of folklore, but a weapon wielded by a cunning and ambitious man. The team then decided to confront Mendes directly, knowing that the safety of the village depended on their ability to expose his malevolent actions. Chapter 5: The Confrontation. Armed with their findings, the team confronted Mendez in a tense showdown. Mendez, cornered and desperate, admitted to summoning Pisadeira, but claimed he had lost control over her. The entity had grown stronger, feeding off the fear and unrest in the village. "We need to put an end to this," Eve declared. "We have to find a way to banish Pisadeira and restore peace to São Miguel." Mendez, now fearful for his own safety, provided them with the details of the summoning ritual. The team prepared for a dangerous and eerie confrontation with the night hag, knowing that failure could mean doom for the village. The ritual would require precise timing, the right incantations, and unwavering resolve. As night fell, they gathered in the heart of the village, where the summoning ritual had first been performed. The air grew cold, and an oppressive silence fell over the village. Pisadeira appeared, her ghastly form emerging from the shadows, her eyes burning with malevolent intent. Chapter 6: The Ritual. The team stood firm, chanting the incantations and holding their ground. Pisadeira's attacks were relentless, but their resolve never wavered. Slowly, the night hag began to weaken, her form flickering and fading. With one final, desperate scream, she vanished into the darkness, leaving the village in eerie silence. The villagers, who had watched the confrontation from a distance, slowly emerged from their homes, their fear giving way to cautious relief. João Silva approached the team, his gratitude evident. "You have saved us," João said, his voice choked with emotion. "We owe you our lives and our sanity." Eve nodded, but her mind was already racing with the implications of what they had uncovered. The use of folklore as a weapon, the thin line between belief and reality, and the ever-present darkness that seemed to lurk just beyond the edge of understanding. Chapter 7: Aftermath. The village of São Miguel slowly returned to normal, the fear and unrest dissipating with Pisadeira's banishment. João Silva, grateful for the team's help, vowed to lead the village with renewed strength and compassion. Antonio Mendez was arrested and imprisoned, his plans for power thwarted. Eve and her team prepared to leave São Miguel, their thoughts already turning to their next adventure. But the experience had left them with more questions than answers. What other dark forces lurked in the world, waiting to be discovered? And how many more ancient legends held a grain of terrifying truth? Chapter 8: Unexpected Revelations. As the team about to leave, they continued to receive more information about the otherworldly occurrences in São Miguel. Despite the banishment of Pisadeira, some villagers continued to report sightings of strange creatures and inexplicable phenomena, and urged them to stay. The village seemed to be a nexus for supernatural activity, raising questions about the nature of these events and their connection to the village's history. Eve, always the thorough investigator, decided to dig deeper into São Miguel's past. She uncovered ancient records and folk tales that hinted at a long history of hauntings and strange occurrences, dating back centuries. The village, it seemed, had always been a place where the veil between the worlds was thin. Chapter 9: The Mystery Deepens. The team's investigation revealed that São Miguel was built on ancient, sacred ground. The village was surrounded by a circle of standing stones, believed to be a portal to other realms. These stones were revered by the indigenous people, who believed them to be gateways to the spirit world. Ava, with her knowledge of anthropology and folklore, pieced together a theory. The stones might be amplifying the supernatural energy in the area, making it easier for entities like Pisadeira to manifest. The summoning ritual performed by Mendez had inadvertently tapped into this energy, unleashing forces beyond his control. The team decided to conduct a ritual at the standing stones to close the portal and prevent any further hauntings. It was a risky endeavor, but they were determined to protect the villagers and uncover the truth. Chapter 10: The Final Confrontation. As the sun set, casting long shadows over the standing stones, the team prepared for the ritual. They set up protective wards and gathered the necessary ingredients, reciting the incantations with a mix of determination and trepidation. The air grew thick with tension, and an eerie silence fell over the clearing. Pisadeira appeared once more, her form more malevolent than ever. She was not alone. Other shadowy figures emerged from the darkness, drawn by the energy of the stones. The team fought bravely, using their knowledge and skills to repel the entities. The battle was intense, and the team was pushed to their limits, but their resolve never wavered. With one final, powerful incantation, they managed to close the portal, banishing the entities back to their realm. The clearing was silent once more, the oppressive energy lifted, The team was exhausted but triumphant. They had succeeded in their mission, but the experience had left them forever changed. Chapter 11: A New Beginning. With the portal closed and the hauntings ceased, São Miguel slowly began to heal. The villagers, grateful for the team's efforts, held a celebration in their honor. João Silva promised to safeguard the village's history and protect the standing stones, ensuring that the events of the past would not be repeated. As the team prepared to leave São Miguel, they were filled with a sense of accomplishment and a deeper understanding of the world they inhabited. They had faced their fears and emerged stronger, their bond unbreakable. But the journey was far from over. The world was full of mysteries, and their work had only just begun. As they set off for their next adventure, they knew that the darkness would always be there, waiting for them to shine a light. Epilogue: The journey continues. Back at their headquarters, their phone gave out a buzz from the email notification while the team was reflecting on their experiences. An email had arrived in the inbox, a reminder of the endless mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Eve looked at her team, a determined glint in her eye. Be prepared for our next mission. With their equipment packed and the spirits high, the group set off on their next adventure, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. The story of Pisadeira was just another episode in their saga, and the mysteries of the world still called to them, louder than ever. The end.
Thanks for tuning in to our podcast. If you enjoyed our exploration of ghosts, mythical creatures, and urban legends, please share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling episodes. Until next time, my beloved listeners.